Howdy everybody, it's your favorite YouTube blogger, Stella Portabella. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a really serious issue, invasive species. Okay, so what are invasive species? Invasive species are species that are not native to their land and have been moved from their original location. To be an invasive species, they must be able to adapt easily, be harmful to the organisms living there or the ecosystem and the economy. So, what is the history behind invasive species? Species have been migrating all since the beginning of life on Earth. But during about 5.3 million to 2.6 million years ago, an isthmus formed between North America and South America, which allowed for a lot of species to migrate. In marine environments, invasive species tend to travel through wind and sea currents. In America especially, invasive species were brought over by the English Pilgrims. When they came over, they brought diseases, animals, and different crops. And as they began to settle more, they brought more exotic animals. These invasive species are still alive today. Invasive species were even brought to Rhode Island. Here on Rhode Island, you can find invasive species almost everywhere and anywhere. We're not even sure how many endangered species there are. Some endangered species that can be found here are trees, shrubs, animals that are pets. All of these invasive species can be found anywhere from your seashore to your local park. Since there are so many invasive species, it's important to understand what they do to the environment. Invasive species can be dangerous to the environment for many reasons. A lot of times they'll change the chemical makeup of the water, they can take up resources, and they can even alter the food web. Most importantly, invasive species can usually adapt well to the environment they're in, and the organisms already living there can't adapt to this new species, so they end up dying out. Eventually, the invasive species can become more dominant in the land than the native species. Here are some interesting facts about invasive species. A popular invasive species is the green crab. They can even be found in Rhode Island. They prey on worms and mollusks. They're really important because they tend to, with their large appetite, to eat a lot of shellfish, and they're ruining shellfish industries in a lot of communities. Another invasive species is the killer algae. They can be found usually in the Pacific and Indian Ocean, but now we're being found in the Mediterranean. They're pretty bad because they're taking up a lot of space. An invasive species in Rhode Island is the Asian carp. They're a great example of how easy it can be for invasive species to adapt to their environment. They're very hardy and they can handle low oxygen levels, which allows them to survive. They also will eat a lot of the native fish. Not all species migration is bad. Sometimes species migrate for better breeding grounds or better food. A place invasive species tend to travel is in ballast water, which is in the tank of the ship. Species can be introduced purposefully as pest control, like when 5 cats were brought to Marion Island to control the mice population. Unfortunately, people tend not to anticipate the effect a new species can have on an environment. The cats ended up endangering the bird population on the island, and the population of the cats grew to 3,400.
Exotic species are also bought as pets that people then release when it's hard to take care of. Like the Burmese python, which people would release in the Everglades, that would then eat the local animals there.
One way invasive species can be eradicated is through chemicals. But usually it affects the native species there, which kills them. In the U.S., more than 7,000 introduced species are established in nature, of which 15% cause ecological or economic damage. One consequence is that getting rid of invasive species is very, very costly. Probably more than like $10. It costs about $120 billion per year. Invasive species are mostly humans' fault, and they usually have a bad effect on the environment and our economy, so it's our job to try and prevent it. Here are some great ways to stop invasive species. When buying plants for your garden, check that the plants you get are native to the land you're in. You can check out the Rhode Island Wild Plant Society website to see if they are native. If boating, make sure to clean your boat well when going into different water. Clean your boots before hiking into a new area. Try not to take animals, plants, shells, firewood, or food from different ecosystems to your home. Don't release your pets into the wild like exotic turtles that aren't used to land and the land is not used to them. Also, don't leave litter in the oceans or anywhere. Invasive species can become tangled in them and travel. Lastly, volunteer at local parks and wildlife refuges to remove invasive species. The best way to prevent invasive species is to go out there and educate yourself. Get out there and explore and learn about ways to help your environment. Bye, guys!
No, I don't. I mean, I can't do this, so I don't want to say anything.
Oh, yeah. So cold. So cold.